All right, folks, simply put, hepatitis is a disease characterized by an inflammation of the liver, but it's no simple feat. Here to talk us through symptoms and treatment, consultant gastroenterologist and our good friend, Dr. Mike Mills. Good to see you.
Thanks, appreciate
Like
that.
Dahlia, you got the World Cup winner.
Thank you, yes.
What?
And I noticed your hair is looking...
Unlike
Like
Dahlia,
Brazil.
I didn't get the World Cup winner.
Sorry about that.
All right, so I kind of started off so you could explain, because I didn't know that you had hepatitis A, B, C, D, E, F, up to G.
Yes, that's right.
What are the differences?
Okay, so the differences are the different types of viruses. They're just named A, B, C, D, just for convenience sake, essentially. But it's just to identify the different types because they have different characteristics and are treated differently and affect people differently.
Okay, so explain hepatitis.
Okay,
period.
hepatitis, as you said, is inflammation of the liver. The liver is that organ that sits on the right side, just under the rib cage. It helps to detoxify things in the blood. It also helps to make certain substances like proteins and so on. It's important to make bile, which is important in digestion. So things can go wrong with the liver. When it becomes inflamed, we call that hepatitis. Viruses, as we mentioned before, is one common cause. But even more common than that, we have things like alcohol, for example. So when you drink too much alcohol, that can cause your liver to become inflamed because it's trying to break down the alcohol excessively. And those toxins can cause problems. Drugs can also cause hepatitis. Common drugs like antibiotics or painkillers or
Can cause it.
paracetamol, yes, can cause inflammation of the liver, damage to the liver, basically. And the common symptom or sign of that would be jaundice or yellowing of the eyes. So that's usually the first sign that there's a liver problem, which hepatitis is one. And also because the liver can become swollen with inflammation, you can have pain in that area as well. So those are the usual things that suggest that there's a liver issue like hepatitis. Pain in the area of the liver on the right side, and then jaundice or yellowing of the eyes.
Okay.
Oh, Lord, there's so many of them.
So the different ones are caused by different things or not necessarily so?
The different viruses?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are different ways which you can get the different types of viruses. For example, so hepatitis A, hepatitis B, hepatitis C are the more common ones. Hepatitis A is something you can get from improper food handling sources, for example. So it's something that can be transmitted from an unclean water source or from someone who has the virus. So normally you're going to get this virus from somebody who has it and passes it on to you. Hepatitis A can be passed on if you share something like a food source, a common source that somebody has the virus. Hepatitis B and hepatitis C can be passed on from blood or infected body fluids. So usually something like if someone has blood transfusion which has not been screened for hepatitis B or C, even though we do screen all our blood products.
Or even drug use, using the drug.
IV drug use, for example. So if you share needles and someone has hepatitis, it's the same way as you can pass on HIV. It's the same kind of way that you can pass on the virus. Or if you get tattoos, for example, piercings and share needles and someone is infected with the virus, you can acquire it that way. It can also be transmitted sexually. So you can pass it on between partners if one is infected. The mother can pass it on to the child as well. So there are a number of ways by which these viruses are transmitted, and that's usually why they're named differently.
Yeah.
Some of them require treatment, some of them don't require treatment. Hepatitis A, for example, once you acquire it, you can clear the virus completely without any form of treatment at all. Whereas hepatitis B and C can grow into chronic forms, where you'll always be at risk for having the virus and will need to be treated to prevent the complications.
Is it one of those things, well, there it goes, 70 to 80% of people with hep C don't show any symptoms. I was going to ask you, is it one of those things that sometimes you never really know it's happening until it's far gone?
Yes, so hepatitis, generally, it does tend to produce some symptoms, but hepatitis C is very different in the way that it presents.
Itself?
Right, so most people will not have any symptoms until it's very complicated. So you may not be able to tell by looking at someone that they have hepatitis, for example. So it's very important to not be alarmed about the possibilities, but be sensitized that, yes, every time you have sexual contact with someone, for example, yes, potentially you're exposing yourself to hepatitis, similarly to how you do.
So no symptoms
yourself.
mean I don't feel no pain or
You don't feel any
like
pain
that?
at all, you don't have any jaundice
so
at
how I
all.
know, apart from the discoloration in the eyes?
Well, one
so
common way that we tend to find those individuals is that they will do one of two things. Either they go and give blood for someone, so let's say a partner is pregnant and you want to give blood, to donate during pregnancy, or someone's going to do surgery and you want to give blood for them or something, they test the blood that they take from you for hepatitis B and C and they find the virus. So that's one way. Or if you went to your general practitioner and you did an executive profile, for example, your blood test for the liver might show that there's inflammation there, and that's the only thing which sensitizes them that maybe that's one of the causes, and then we then look for it.
Which would suggest that you could have it and be living with it for a long time.
Yes, so you could have it sometimes up to 10, 12 years and not know that you have it until you present with the complications. And the complications can be quite severe. You can have liver cancer as a complication at the end stage, or you can develop cirrhosis, which is scarring of the liver. And at that stage, when it presents, really, you have the complications like swelling in the abdomen and weight loss and potential for bleeding from veins inside the gullet and so on. So all of those complications will be usually the end stage of presentation, which we try to prevent by identifying it early, if we can, and offering treatment where available.
Wow. How prevalent is it?
Worldwide, it's very prevalent. Up to above 300 million individuals are affected worldwide by viral hepatitis alone. Hepatitis B and C make up the vast number of those. In Jamaica, the prevalence, we think, is fairly low. It's not very, very prevalent. Approximately maybe 30 to 35,000 individuals, though, are estimated to be infected with viral hepatitis. So the number is not very tiny, but it's not overwhelming.
It's not alarming.
Yes.
Yep. You said some of them you don't even have to treat. If you do treat it, what you do?
Okay, so the first thing is to identify the type of virus. The treatment can last anywhere from 8 weeks to indefinitely, so you always have to be on some type of medication. And the medications range from tablets, which you take every day, or injections, which you take monthly, to having to continue the medication indefinitely.
Okay. And does it affect the women more than men, kids more than adults?
No, it's universal. Everyone is at risk potentially and can acquire the virus at the moment. You may have less chance of getting rid of the virus if you acquire it as a child, for example. So the younger you are when you acquire the virus, is the more likely you are to develop long-term complications and require treatment. As I said, it can be transmitted from mother to child. One of the things that is done in Jamaica and universally now by a mandate from the Ministry of Health and WHO is to do vaccination to prevent hepatitis B in particular. So that step is one of the things which we hope will reduce the incidence of hepatitis B locally. And so most individuals over the last 6 or 7 years definitely would have been vaccinated as part of their routine childhood vaccination against hepatitis B in particular. So that's very important in reducing the transmission. Pregnant women can also receive a preventative immunoglobulin, which is given at the time of delivery to prevent the baby from getting hepatitis B as well.
All right. Thanks, my friend. Good to see you.
Awesome.
And congrats on your
prediction. Thank you very much. That's why I have half my hair.
Yeah, congrats. That's the same. I'm half from here. All right. By the way, happy birthday to Charlene Roberts. Charlene, I hope you have an absolutely brilliant day today, and I pray that you live to see many, many more. All right. God bless. A consultant gastroenterologist, we have Dr. Mike Mills. 10 minutes to your health.
Yeah.
We'll do it again next Thursday. So come.